Hi everyone! So in a recent video I shared the new magazine box kit by John Next Door, which was such an amazing kit. And in there, a lady named Vicky Derrick created a mantle clock using the goodies that came with the magazine box kit. On my screen now you can see a template to that mantle clock. You can see it as a three-dimensional make with a clock mechanism to go behind the clock into the box and all. Now I'm going to change this up a bit. I'm not going to use any of those elements to create the 3D box. I am going to create a card shaped as a mantle clock. So what I will be using is these pieces in here. So these are the templates. The one for the main piece and then one for a mat to go over the top, and this is to decorate the bottom, again the base card and the mat. Now I did create a third layer to go with this because I like my mats and layers on the card, but I will walk you through it now. If you haven't seen my video where I shared about this magazine box kit, I will leave a link in the description box below. Make sure you go and check that out. There's some amazing cards that I shared in there too. So I've cut out the base for the card twice from white cardstock, and on one of them, about 1 inch from the top, I'm going to add the score line just so I can create that hinge where I can attach my card front to. Now you can easily hand cut these are not very complicated shapes to cut, but what I did, I used my silhouette die cutting machine and I've die cut it in there. I just find it easier, to be honest, but these are not too hard shapes to follow freehanding either. So I'm going to add my glue just to that top bit in there where I added that hinge now. And this will allow me to adhere the card front to it and then have a lovely card base ready just like that. This technique really works with any shapes at all, as long as you have two of the same ones, hand cut, die cut or machine cut, and you can just create a hinge on one of them to attach the card front to. My next layer that I cut out of silver holographic cardstock. I'm not sure if I mentioned I'm making a masculine card today. I do really struggle with masculine cards, and this box kit is amazing for those. Honestly, you'll see how lovely this card turns out. So for the third layer, I've cut it out of the pattern paper, which came with the magazine box kit, and this has the lovely blue colors, the clocks and the cogs theme right through it. It really is fantastic. As you can see, I added double-sided tape on the back because I'm going to attach it to the mirror card. And now bringing in the die set, I'm going to show you what I've used from this today. So I used the clock die and the two outline dies, the one larger one and one of the smaller one. And I've die cut the trio of these 3 times from white cardstock. On the very top one, I added a salty ocean distress oxiding and a clear embossing powder, clear gloss embossing powder, and I layered it up on 2 of the white die cuts. So it's quite dimensional. There are 3 die cuts and the top one is the colored one and heat embossed. I also brought in a circle nesting die set. This one happens to be by 2 Red Robins, where you can use any circle dies that you have. 2 of them are just slightly larger than the clock itself, and then you can see the other 2 which are again a little bit larger again. So the 2 smaller ones out of the 4 dies, I die cut everything from white cardstock to start with. The slightly larger one, I heat embossed the edges with Turkish coffee wow embossing powder. Now I use this because I have it in my stash and I want to use it, but you can use brown ink and then clear embossing powder on top of that to achieve similar results. I will be layering them up just like you can see on my screen. And with the larger 2 dies, again, I have die cut them from white cardstock. The largest one, I again added the brown embossing powder on the edges, and the smaller one, I embossed with the embossing folder that comes with the kit, and you can see that gorgeous design on it. I am going to add some color to that embossed die cut circle in there. And to do that, I'm going to bring in a piece of just scrap card, my Salty Ocean Distress Oxide ink pad. You can just lightly rub the ink pad itself over the design, the raised areas of the design, but I decided to use my brayer. I just like using my brayer, to be honest, and it gives me a more distressed look for something that I was going for now. You will only be able to see the edges of this anyway, just like so. The clock will cover up the inside, the middle of it. So that is where you just really have to focus, and you can even use your blending brushes just to add color to the raised areas. And here you can see me using my liquid glue just to layer everything up, and I'm going to layer this up in 2 sets now. So the clock separately and then the other bit separately as well, because I will be raising both of these sets on foam pads to add to my card base a little later, because I have used embossing powder and it will take a little while for the glue to properly grab on. I like to add some heavyweight books on top of this, set them aside until I work on my next bits. In here you can see me prepare that bit that will be going on the bottom of the clock. This is the bit that you could see me use or show the template of earlier on, and just once again created the third layer, which, because there's so narrow bit in the middle of that, came out in 2 pieces when I added it in my design studio. But I quite like the look of this, so I just went with that. So the third layer is actually in 2 pieces in there, and I again used white cardstock, holographic silver cardstock, and the same blue pattern paper from the box kit. I will be adding some foam pads on the back of this. I want this to be raised on the bottom of my card. I do like to reinforce this with a bit of a liquid glue as well, not just for the strength of the adhesion, but also so I get a little bit of time to wriggle it into proper place. Top of my head, they're a bit messy, but this was quite a late night crafting. I'm nearly sure I had my jammies on at this point too. So in here are the 2 pieces that earlier on we prepared, and I had set my books on top. And now I'm adding the foam pads onto both of these pieces as well. Now I'm going to adhere this larger piece onto the card base. It really doesn't matter which direction you're going in here, to be honest. These are going all different directions. And as I mentioned earlier on, you will only see the edges of that circle anyway, because this smaller bit that I'm adding my foam pads to will be going in the middle. And this will be the whole main point of the card, is the clock. So I am removing the backing of the foam pads in here, and just mentioning this is the Chloe's Creative Cards foam pads, which I absolutely love using because the backing comes off so very easy of them. So now this is the bit where I have to make sure that it goes on straight, because I want my clock, the 12, to be on the top and the 6 on the bottom. So I'm just taking my time. This is sped up a little bit in here. I was really taking my time to make sure that it went on nice and straight. And you can't see it in here, but this clock is so lovely and dimensional now. I really love how this is turning out. The hands of the clock I cut out of the same silver holographic card, as well as that I cut them out of white cardstock twice as well, and these are layered up as well. So there are 3 layers of card, 2 white and 1 silver on the top. So then I brought in the stamp set, and I took all the clocks from it, and I stamped and heat embossed them using the Turkish coffee embossing powder. Then I just fussy cut them, and I have, I think, 7 in here that I will be using. Again, if you don't have brine embossing powder, just use some brining and clear embossing powder, and that will give you some similar results. I just like to use the embossing powders that I have in my stash. These were actually ones that I received as some of the prizes for winning Cardmaker of the Year competition. So I've had them in my stash for quite a while now, and I most certainly haven't been using them enough. So I thought this one was the perfect opportunity. Now in here I'm just adding them to the card without a glue, just trying to arrange to see what kind of an arrangement do I like. And in here it was definitely missing something. So from white cardstock I die cut the 2 of the larger flower dies several times, and I brought in some very light blue ink, which is the tumbled glass, distress oxiding, and just very lightly ink them up a little bit. I didn't want these to be overpowering, didn't want the eyes to draw to these flowers, but I wanted them to be there, to add a little bit of something to complement my card. So again, I am adding these flowers just as a dry run first to the card just to see if I like them. And then once I have an arrangement that I like, I will come back with my glue bottle, blue bottle, and add them to the cards together with those cogs. So I really like how it is looking in here. So you'll see me lifting them with tweezers, and I'm adding these, all the different elements and all different layers. If you remember, we used foam pads on all the different circles in here. So some of them I'm adding to the top layer, some of them to the bottom. So it looks like a real lovely dimensional card. I know it's not showing much here on the camera, but in real life it looks so lovely and dimensional. I was pretty chuffed with how this turned out. I'm not great with masculine cards. Do let me know, do you like to make masculine cards? And if so, what is your favorite things to use? I would love to read your comments on masculine cards. And let me know, is this something that you would consider masculine card? Is this something that you would make? I'd love to know. I've die cut number 4 and 0 for 40 from the Simply Made Crafts die set, 3 times from white card. To one of them I added Salty Ocean Distress Oxiding and Clear Embossing Powder, and to the third one I added Heat Embossing with the Turkish Coffee Embossing Powder. I'm going to layer these on top of each other. First of all, the brown on top of the blue, offsetting it slightly so the blue shows onto the left hand side of that brown. And then I will come back and add the white ones to it as well. My first idea was only to use the blue with the brown, but once I added it or tried it on top of the pattern paper, it just didn't stand out enough. That's why I decided to die cut them the third time from white cardstock again. And when I'm gluing these on, I will be offsetting this to the opposite direction, to the right hand side of the fours or the colored numbers in there. I hope this makes sense. It might not sound like much because only a little bit of the white shows, but trust me, when I tried this on top of the pattern paper, it made a whole lot of a difference. It made the numbers stand out a whole lot more, and I really liked that look. So it's like kind of a triple dimensional look to the number 14 there. I've printed out just using a very simple font from my laptop and the printer, Time To and Celebrate, and I chose a brown ink print to that. Brown that is very similar to the browns that I used on my card. So Time To, I added some foam pads behind because I'm going to add this to that bottom layer in there. And the Celebrate I will just use liquid glue with because this will be going on to that top layer. And then I will glue the number 40 behind it. So my sentiment now says Time To Celebrate 40. I think it is such a lovely one. I did think that I had something like that to stamp in my stash I couldn't find, so I just printed it out. I just find it quite easy to print out and use. And this finishes my card off. I love the dimension, the shine from the embossing and the mirror card in there. I really love how this turned out. And for a masculine card, I think I done pretty good. For someone that always struggles with those, I am really chuffed with how this turned out. However, I can't help but thinking, using different colors and some flowers and some glitter, maybe, this would make such a lovely feminine card too. Do let me know in the comment section if you would like to see a feminine version of this card. I would definitely love to record one of those for you. So if you liked today's tutorial, do not forget to give me the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and share my video, comment in the comment section below because it all helps me to get seen on YouTube, and I will be back very soon with another tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. Bye, till the next time.